What's the point of winning in this world if you lose yourself in the process? Yes, welcome to the MINDSHiFT Monday, where we shift the way that we think so that we can shift the way that we live. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3, that's me, and today we're asking, what does success cost? And is it worth paying with your voice and with your value? So glad that y'all are here. Oh yeah, Dr. Lorenda Jones, so glad that you're here. So glad that you're here. Denise on Instagram, yes, so glad that you're here. My people, April on Substack, so glad that you're here. Beverly on Substack, so glad that you're here. Yes, C. Marie, so good to see you on YouTube this morning. Yeah, David, so good to see you on Facebook this morning. Yeah, we're gonna rock and roll right after this show. Do me a favor, if you want to continue the conversation, join us for the MINDSHiFT Monday Level Up at 8 a.m. We'll get on Zoom live with some of your compadres and chat and talk and really lean into how you're going to make this week successful. So join us, mindshiftmonday.com/Zoom. If you want to know when we're live, text live to 240-557-8679. Yeah, let's do that thing. Dr. Lorenda says it pays. I love it. Hey, listen, let's jump on into this show this morning. Let's go. Y'all ready? Let's do this thing. Bam. Hey y'all, what's going on? Happy Monday to you. I'm so glad that y'all are joining me for MINDSHiFT Monday today, where we shift your mind so that you can shift your week. Let's do this thing. Before we jump into the show today, guess what today is? Today is Monday, September. Well, I'm not going to say the date because I might want to show this again in the future. Today's Monday, but here's what today is really. Today is the start of our Amplify Your Voice with Video Challenge, the 3-day challenge. If you haven't heard about it, let's jump in and let you hear something about it. Come on.
Ready to stop being invisible and start being influential? Join us September 22nd to 24th for the Amplify Your Voice with Video 3-day challenge. Free to join at www.amplifyvoiceandvideo.com. In just 3 days, you'll learn why your story is your sales secret, how to shift from awkward on camera to authentic and influential, and the #1 belief blocking your video consistency. You'll also discover simple techniques to make recording easier, what to say to grab your audience, and the 3 types of videos that build trust and get leads. Plus, walk away with a weekly content plan and the system to repurpose 1 video into 5 pieces of content. It's free, but upgrade to VIP for replays, Q&A time, and more. It's time to be seen. It's time to be heard. It's time to be paid. Register today at amplifyvoiceandvideo.com.
I don't know why I was so nervous about sharing the date, because I just shared it on the video. Oh, Lord, have mercy. So yes, today is September 22nd, 2025. Come on in and join us for the Amplify Your Voice with Video Challenge, 3-day challenge starting today. Go on over to amplifyvoiceandvideo.com. So let's jump on in. We hear it all the time. We sacrifice everything for greatness, but do you really have to lose yourself in order to level up? Or is that the biggest lie in the success playbook? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Dr. Lorenda says it pays. Danny Lewis, so good to see you this morning. So glad that y'all are here joining me this morning on the interwebs. We are on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Substack this morning. So yes, so glad that y'all are here. So let me start with this question. Let me start with a question. Do y'all know what an NDA is? Do you know what an NDA is? Go ahead and type if you know what an NDA is. Yeah. An NDA, for those of you who are not clear, is a non-disclosure agreement. A non-disclosure agreement. I'm going to address something a little bit sensitive this morning. We're starting out Monday with a little bit sensitivity. Hey, Mark Chambers, so glad that you're here, my friend. So over the last few years, we've had quite a few stories of celebrities, people of means, people of influence being called out or going to jail for wrongdoing of various levels. And I'm not going to address names or what they did because I don't want to shine a light on the wrongs or the evils of these people. But you can go to Google or Perplexity and you're gonna turn up plenty of people who are being called out for a lot of different things, right? But at the same time, I want to talk about a tool that they've used, which is so much more powerful than we realize. And in fact, many of us may be using this tool against ourselves. And that tool is the NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. A non-disclosure agreement, or an NDA, is a legal document that essentially says, in exchange for you having access, in exchange for you having knowledge or gain, you agree not to say anything about what you have seen, experienced, or have knowledge of. In other words, you want to hang around us, you want to have access to this lifestyle or keep this money that I'm giving you, you need to remain silent. If you don't remain silent, then you forfeit access, you forfeit privilege, and you might even forfeit freedom. And because there is something enticing or some privilege, many people choose to sign a document that in effect silences them or mutes their voice. Milton Dodd, so good to see you on Instagram. Sigan Mestallion, I guess related to Megan, I guess. Right? So many people choose to sign documents that in effect silence them or mute their voice. Now, it's easy for me to stand here and judge people's willingness or reasons for willingly giving away their voice. But the question that I want to ask is, how many times have I, Robert Kennedy III, RK3, how many times have I done the same thing? How many times have I signed my own NDA? Right? How many times have I done this, and at what cost have I done it? How many times have I remained silent because I was told it was the price of success, or I assumed it was the price of comfort? Yeah. So let me share with you the story of Sylvester Stallone. I don't know if you've heard this. I've shared it before, but Sylvester Stallone was a struggling actor in the 70s, and he had some connections, but he was struggling in the Hollywood space. One day he went to a fight he was watching at least a fight between Muhammad Ali and this guy named, what was this guy's name? Let me find out his name. I have it. Chuck Wepner. Yes. Chuck Wepner was who he was watching. So Chuck Wepner was this underdog who was really expected to lose to Muhammad Ali, but not just lose, but lose in spectacular fashion. So as many things turn out, not only did Chuck not lose in spectacular fashion, he lost, but he did a couple of things. He knocked down Muhammad Ali, and he went the distance with Muhammad Ali. So two things he was not expected to do. So Stallone sees this, and he, based on this, writes a script for Rocky. He goes around and he shares it with some of his actor friends who are connected to producers, production houses, and many of them liked it, but they refused to pick it up. But he keeps pushing, he keeps pushing, he keeps pushing until he finally gets some producers to accept the script. So they accept the script, but they told him that they wanted to hire their own director and their own actors because Sylvester Stallone wasn't known by anybody at this point, right? He wasn't a known commodity, right? And so they wanted to make sure that this film had box office power behind it. They wanted somebody well known. So he writes this movie about a version of himself because he feels like the underdog. Again, inspired by Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner fight. And as the underdog, Sylvester Stallone really saw himself as this, and he says to these directors or these producers, no, I refuse to let you have this script if I'm not playing the starring role. As a matter of fact, he actually turned down more than $250,000 in the 1970s. Now, $250,000 is a lot of money now in the 2020s. But he turned down more than $250,000 in the 1970s so that he could play this role. D. Stewart, how you doing this morning? Antonio Sepulveda, Miami, how you doing? Bats Rang, good to see you this morning on Instagram. So finally, he gets them to agree to have him as the star and the director of this movie. I'll share a little bit more about that with you a little bit later on. And he gets to act and direct this movie, and the movie and the franchise goes on to make millions. Let me ask you, how many times have you had a thought, an idea, or a desire, but you signed an NDA with yourself because you would rather be in the pain of comfort than the pain of greatness? There's pain either way. One might be delayed, but it's coming. I think about this story with Sylvester Stallone. He decided he was going. Listen, he said, "I would rather be poor. I would rather be in my no-bedroom apartment, my studio. I would rather be on the street than to lose my voice for this part." How many of you are willing? How many of us, let me not even point the finger, how many of us are willing to do what it takes in order to hold on to our voices? I got to tell you, it's easy. A lot of us would say, yeah, I'm willing to do that. But I want us to be like transparent and vulnerable and real with ourselves this morning, right? Many of us are muted because we fear moving forward. Think about it. When was the last time that you were afraid of doing something big in order to move forward? Think about your job. You might say, okay, yep, I want to get to this level in my job. But in order to do that, you've got to silence yourself. Otherwise, you'll be pushed aside. So you just kind of duck your head and keep your head down and keep it moving, right? Many of us, we're muted because we fear moving forward. But I also want to talk to the other side where I originally started. The ones who chase success and only settle for a version of it because of NDAs, right? Here's the world's version of an NDA. The world teaches that success is more money. NDA, you get success or you get more money, and so you become silent in order to keep that money. More titles, you get titles, and so you become silent in order to keep those titles. More followers, you get more followers, and so you become silent in order to keep those followers. It's an NDA, because what happens is that in order to keep the privilege, in order to keep the access, we mute and we don't say. We mute and we become silent. Chasing success, and I want you to hear this, chasing success, chasing greatness. I am not telling you not to chase it. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you to chase it. But be aware that chasing success, chasing greatness, chasing being awesome, chasing being at the top of the game, chasing being number one, chasing being your unicorn comes with pressure to silence your voice, abandon your values, or compromise your core. How many celebrities or people of note do you know who years later said, "Oh my gosh, I've totally lost my voice in this journey to success"? Right? I've heard of so many different musicians, so many different actors, actresses that were doing this. And then one day they just said, "You know what? I don't want to do this anymore because I compromised too much, or I lost my voice. I lost myself along the way." That's not everybody. There are some people that have an ability, a gift, to be able to manage that. I'll give a couple of examples of people who I wouldn't say that I'm a stan or I'm a big fan of theirs, but I admire some things about them. So I'll use like LeBron James. Okay, we're not going to talk about the GOAT conversation because, I've got my thoughts. But what I admire about LeBron James is that somehow he's able to balance family, philanthropy, career, lifting up his friends and others while remaining seemingly grounded in an age where it's not easy to do that amidst immense amounts of scrutiny. Another example, the other day I was watching something about Cardi B, or I was watching something with Cardi B. And while I don't vibe or agree with every bit of content that she puts out, right, I must admit that she makes me smile, and I have a level of admiration for how she approaches celebrity. The other day, she was on the sidewalk in New York selling CDs or music or selling something, just like the regular street vendors, because she wanted to remain connected, and it was a way for her to manage keeping her voice, right? And she was on this interview talking about how she deals with haters by letting it out and letting the haters have it sometimes. Yeah, sometimes she may do it what we call inappropriate, but that's her way of dealing with it. And she also does that by turning her music into her muse, right? Turning her music into a way to speak to the haters. So she's found a way to keep her voice, even in a space or an industry or in a time where so many people are against her, to mute her voice, say things differently, or say things in a way that only lines their pockets or pleases them. Right? So I don't know what your thoughts are, but I admire how she approaches it. Do I agree with how she does it every time? Nope, but I admire that she's fighting for her voice. How many of us fight for our voices? How hard are we willing to fight for our voices, even while we're fighting for success, even while we're chasing greatness? As you think about reaching another level, right? How many times have you conformed or not spoken up? Let's think. Let's go inwards for a second, right? In order to keep your job, how many times have you said what needed to be said? I mean, in this age, in this day and age where you can say stuff, right? And the government and other people can say, yep, cancel. Yep, they said that. Yep, fire them. How many times, because of principle, because of value, because of belief, have you said what needed to be said, even at the risk of your job? Let me ask another question. In order to gain access, how many times have you dimmed your light in order to gain access? How many times have you, in order to be in certain spaces, shrunk? Now, I'm not advocating for recklessness with your mouth. I do believe that there are quite a few of us sometimes that can be reckless with our mouth. What I am advocating is introspection for the moments where your voice might have made a difference, or where you pulled back because you were told or you thought that pulling back was what would open the door to success. Dorian Stewart says, I'm time to tear up my NDA and use my voice. Yeah, right? So when I talk about your voice being muted or not using your voice, I'm not talking about talking loud. I'm not talking about being loud. I know many people who are loud. As a matter of fact, I have quite a few people that I'm connected with on Facebook, on social media, and they say stuff all the time and they act tough. But on the inside, behind closed doors, in their closed circles, their lives are messy because they didn't really use their voice where it mattered. Here's what using your voice means. Using your voice sometimes means listening. Beverly Song Burton, how are you doing, my friend? Using your voice sometimes means listening. Using your voice sometimes means being strategically verbal. Using your voice sometimes means saying 2 words softly instead of saying 10 words at 100 decibels. Yeah. I want you to get this. Man, we're running out of time. I want to get to our 3 actions here. So let's dig into this last segment here. Our 3 actions, our 3 transformation. Well, what do I want to call them? 3 things that you should do today, right? So as we're thinking about how do you chase greatness while keeping your voice? How do you chase greatness and success while not losing your values? Well, here's number 1. I want you to define your non-negotiables. Quite often, we get caught in compromising circumstances or compromising decision moments because we haven't articulated, verbalized, or written down our values. So I want you to define your non-negotiables, right? Write down 3 values that you won't sacrifice no matter what the opportunity. What are 3 values? Listen, I will not lie no matter what. Listen, I will not steal or cheat no matter what. I will not talk negatively about another person no matter what. What are your values? What are 3 values that are your non-negotiables? I want you to write those down, because as you are moving up the ladder, as you are chasing greatness, as you're chasing success, if you have a value, believe it that those values are going to be tested. Believe it that they're going to be tested. Believe it. Number 2, check the cost. Check the cost. Before saying yes to an opportunity, any opportunity, ask, will this require me to mute my voice or compromise my values? Yeah, you might know the value, but here's what happens sometimes. We are running, our heads down. We're doing our things. We got blinders on, and we don't see, or we don't process, or we don't filter what's happening. So we get into a situation where we then have to confront the muting or the compromising. So before you say yes to any opportunity, ask the question, will this require me to mute my voice or compromise my values? Y'all can't see me. Right? Number three, surround yourself with people who remind you of your voice, not just your victories. Find your success circle. Ooh, yeah. Find your success circle. Some of y'all gonna get mad when I say this, but listen, I love you. Find your success circle. Part of the reason, a big reason some of us are experiencing some of the things that we're experiencing that we feel are negative is because of the circle that we're in. Part of the reason that some of us are struggling in our job, reaching a certain level of, is because of the circle that we're in. Some of the reason that some of us are, a big part of the reason that some of us are struggling in our relationships is because of the circle that we're in. Find your success circle. You want to go higher than your circle, you got to shoot for higher. If you want to be successful in your marriage, then shoot for relationships or marriages around you that are successful. If you want to be successful in your business, then shoot for businesses that have been longer than you and have been better than you and have been around and are shooting and are driven in the same direction. Right? Surround yourself with people who remind you of your voice and not just the one or two victories that you had. So listen, we are running low on time here, but we will have the opportunity to unpack this. If you want to go a little bit deeper on this and talk a little bit more about what resonated or how to get a little bit further in this conversation, join me on Zoom in just a few minutes, just a couple of minutes at 8 a.m. Go to MINDSHiFTMonday.com/Zoom and join me for the after show. All right. Listen, true success isn't measured by what you gain. It's measured by who you refuse to lose. And that who may be you. In my book, Find Your Voice, 28 Secrets to Inspire You to Speak Up. Yeah, I'm talking about my book today. I haven't done that. I share this quote: the two most powerful weapons in the world are the tongue and the pen. And when both are silenced, the world loses. So my reminder to you today is, how can you seek greatness? How can you grow? How can you be more without losing you in the process? That starts with your voice. And speaking of your voice, if you want to be heard and change the world, make sure that you join us for the Amplify Your Voice with Video 3-Day Challenge starting today. Go to amplifyvoiceandvideo.com. Listen, y'all, if you love the messages that we share each week and want a reminder when we're live, text live to 240-557-8679. Lastly, again, don't forget to join in the after show to talk more about this topic. Head on over to MINDShiftMonday.com/Zoom. All right. Until next time, there's a version of you, my friend, that requires you to keep your voice and your value. And that begins on the inside. Or as I always say, change your thoughts, change your world, change your story. See you on Zoom in just a little bit. Peace.